Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, a mom-to-be.
Teresa is 34 weeks pregnant and abusing heroin.
You kind of get warm sensation floods over your entire body.
A family of enablers.
You're giving her money knowing she's buying poison to put in her veins.
I've been in recovery. I know you can't make somebody get sober.
A race against time.
This isn't about you anymore. It's about your innocent, unborn child. Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Well, it's a story you've heard on Dr. Phil far too many times. Here's how it goes. A pretty girl appears to have a good life growing up. She plays soccer, rides horses, even collects designer bags. But then around the age of 15, she starts doing a little partying. And by the time she graduates high school, she has moved on to hard drugs. That's Teresa's story. Her life went off the rails and literally off the road 8 years ago when she was driving under the influence, got into a horrible car crash, and almost died. You'd think that being in a medically induced coma for a week, having to learn how to walk again, would stop her using drugs. Not a chance.
About 8 years ago, Teresa got in a horrible car accident.
She was driving home from our house, and she rolled her car off the freeway.
When Teresa left her house, she had a bottle of vodka. What I suspect is Teresa drank some of that vodka and maybe took some Oxycontin on the way home as well.
When the paramedics got there, she was pinned under the car. They weren't sure she was going to make it.
While she was in ICU, she had a stroke. She had pins put in her pelvis. Her bladder exploded.
They had her in a medically induced coma for a week. Teresa came home after 3 months.
It was very difficult on Beth. She had to take care of her, wash her, feed her.
I became her primary nurse and caretaker for a year. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. This was definitely above my pay grade.
Beth would monitor the pain pills, but Teresa was pretty good at manipulating Beth and getting what she wanted.
She got to the point where I gave her a little one more here, one more there. Kind of just gave her what she wanted. I gave up because it just got to be too much. I let her deal with it herself. I would drive her to physical therapy, and then she'd call me a couple hours later, and she'd be at a bar. She really didn't want to participate in her recovery. Barry and I were very angry that she would not take the help that was given to her. She just wanted to drink and use.
After a year, she was back to her old ways of shooting heroin.
I don't know if bringing her home right now would be good for me at all. Really challenge our marriage.
And now, to make a bad story even worse, Teresa is 34 weeks pregnant. She says she just can't stop using, even with a baby girl growing inside her. Her stepmother, Beth, and father, Barry, say they fear for this unborn baby, and well, they should.
My stepdaughter, Teresa, is a heroin addict for the last 10 years.
Heroin keeps you well, and that keeps you awake.
Around 22 years old, Teresa was started to experiment with Oxycontin, and she was arrested for domestic violence. Up until that point, there were no red flags. Teresa was on her way to my house. I got a call that her car was impounded. There was booze in the car. It was obvious that Teresa was losing control of being able to drive a car without having booze and being high.
After the police released Teresa, we brought her home.
It was turmoil, insanity.
The next night, I walked into her room, and she had a needle in her arm. Barry ran in. Teresa was begging, "Daddy, please don't flush it. I need it. I will die without it."
I guess they call it.
We didn't know enough about heroin to know that she wouldn't die, so we didn't flush it. The next night, I went through her bedroom, and I found a metal container. It had needles, the heroin, it had meth, it had Vicodin, Xanax. The last time we saw Teresa was about 3 years ago. She had gotten kicked out of the sober living and went back to living on the streets. I really have not been involved until 2 months ago when she called and told me she was pregnant. I was shocked.
A heroin addict with a baby. It's been heartbreaking.
She sent me a picture of the ultrasound, and it said, my girl, and it had little hearts on it. Teresa doesn't understand the magnitude of what's going on. The heroin is just taking over.
And if you don't have the meds, you can't stay awake.
I'm concerned the child may be taken away. That's a better option than being raised by a heroin addict.
She is in no shape to be a mom, so I don't know what to do. We're really desperate for Dr. Phil's help before this innocent child is brought into the mix.
Okay, I'm glad you're here. I wish it had been a long time ago, but it's now better than never.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When did y'all find out she was
We
pregnant?
found out 45 days ago.
45 days ago.
Yep. We let her know that we weren't going to give her any more money. We were talking about our retirement, and we were at the point where, okay, we can't afford to give this girl money anymore. And then when we said, no more money, Trace, that's when she said, I need to talk to you. And that's when she told us she was pregnant.
She did this as emotional extortion, right? Okay, I got
yes.
a baby on the way now,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you want to be hard with me.
Right.
You're mistreating this child.
Right, you need to help me.
So this was manipulation. And you're both were shocked that she was pregnant because you didn't think she could get pregnant after the wreck, right?
Right, her pelvis exploded, basically, and her
Right.
bladder exploded, and so I just thought she couldn't get pregnant.
Okay, and we call this an accident, but the fact of the matter is she got in this car under the influence, drove down the road, crashed, and there's not really anything accidental about that. I mean, it's as predictable as the sun coming up in the morning.
yeah.
The miracle is she lived.
Right.
And you've known that she's been on drugs for a long time, all the way back from high school. And you partied during her childhood.
Yeah, I was a drinker. I've been sober 20 years, so I did my share of, drinking and drugging.
Yeah. And Beth, you've had your trip around the track as well.
I sure have, yeah. It's been a struggle for me.
Right. You had to be her caretaker.
Yes, I did. I did.
And that was not easy for you because there were a lot of drugs around because she had to have pain meds.
Right.
And-
I dispensed them to her.
Did you relapse?
Oh, yeah, I
during that time?
relapsed. Yes, I did.
Pressure got to you. Stress
Oh, yeah,
got to you.
for sure. Yeah, I did. I relapsed.
And so, frankly,
alcohol.
you said something that was a question, but it really was a statement in disguise. You said you really worry that if she comes back into y'all's home with this baby, that it could jeopardize your relationship, your marriage, your sobriety, everything that's going on. It could put everything in jeopardy.
Absolutely.
Teresa's bio mom, Karen, is involved here, and she says her daughter is paying for drugs with Barry's money. Is he funding her addiction? I'm going to ask him that question. We're going to meet Karen and talk about what her role in this is, and I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't be doing this story if there wasn't a baby involved. That's the one reason I'm doing this. We'll be right back.
I blame Barry for Teresa's addiction because of his lifestyle. There's no doubt in my mind that Barry is funding her addiction.
And later,
I don't know anything about what I'm supposed to be doing, and
you understand you have a moral duty to this child.
yes,
So, are you morally corrupt and intellectually bankrupt, or are you just not wanting to do it?
I haven't seen my daughter Teresa in 3 years. The only time I hear from her is text. It is, hi, Daddy, I love you. Send me money.
Over the years, Barry and I have given Teresa over $50,000.
I know I'm a world-class enabler. I've been sending Teresa money ever since she started using heroin.
He's still giving her money.
I send her about $150 a week.
Barry parents out of guilt, And he's given Teresa money because of not being there when she was a child.
I paid for Teresa's rent, clothes, jewelry. The rare time I would say no, she would text me back and say, Daddy, I need cigarettes and I need some food. I would send her money. But deep down inside, I knew it was for heroin.
Well, we're here trying to save the life of a child yet to be born. Barry says his daughter Teresa's heroin addiction is at critical mass because she is now pregnant with a baby girl, 34 weeks pregnant. His ex-wife Karen blames him, saying he is funding Teresa's addiction, and if she dies, she says, well, there will be blood on Barry's hands.
There's no doubt in my mind that Barry is funding her addiction. He sends Teresa a weekly allowance. I show Teresa my love and affection for her by taking her to have a hot meal or inviting her into my home to take a shower and get a good night's sleep. Barry shows his love for his daughter by sending her money. Barry consumed large quantities of alcohol. When I got pregnant, I stopped, but he continued to use cocaine, drinking, then ecstasy. I was married to Barry approximately 5 years, and we got divorced because I found out he was having multiple affairs. I blame Barry for Teresa's addiction because of his lifestyle. When Teresa has her baby, I'm hoping Teresa is clean. If Teresa's not clean, I'm hoping I can take the baby home. I heard Dr. Phil say once, the definition of parenting is sacrifice, and I'm willing to do that.
Well, joining us via Ionico is Karen. Karen, thank you for joining us today. You realize that this baby is going to be born addicted to drugs, correct?
Yes, yes.
And what do you think should happen with this baby when it's born?
Well, I'd like to take care of it if she isn't clean and sober.
Barry, she said you're actually funding this addiction. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, to a point, you know.
Are you giving her cash money?
I'm giving her cash money, yeah.
So you're saying, here's drug money.
Yes.
You know that.
Yeah.
Here's money to get some poison to put in your arm.
Well, I know that's...
I've asked him over the years to send the money to me so I can take care of her, but he has a problem with that.
So do I.
If I sent the money to Karen, it would go, some of it would go to Karen's needs. You know, that's why I never did that.
Right.
Okay?
Well, hell, I'd rather put it in a paper shredder than
right.
shoot
Well,
it up her veins.
In hindsight, I wish I would have put it in a 401k, you know, but...
You're giving her money knowing she's buying poison to put in her veins.
I mean, the last 3 years, basically, I just gave up. I know you can't make somebody get sober.
You think Karen contributes to Teresa's addiction because of a chaotic environment?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why I don't believe Teresa would stay there unless she was absolutely desperate. And it's just not a good environment. It never was. I think once Teresa got to a certain age, she preferred to be around me than Karen. And I think that's part of the anger that Karen has for me.
Uh-huh. So, Karen, you know, we're just being straight up honest here. Do you have problems with emotional stability?
I do have a very bad temper, especially when it comes to my children. If anybody is not treating them with respect, I will defend them to the hilt.
Well, that's not what I asked you. Let me tell you something. I'm interested in this baby's well-being, and I'm not interested in you guys having a turf war or an ego battle. I'm interested in who will be honest with me, and you're smart enough to know, do you have problems with emotional stability? And you can spin that into a humble brag where you say, well,
yes.
I fight for my children if I think they're under. That's not the question I ask. I ask you, do you have problems with emotional stability?
Yes, I do.
Thank you for your candor. Next, Teresa says she can't go a day without getting high despite being 34 weeks pregnant, but she recently got an ultrasound and said, while high, baby looks all right so far.
You kind of get warm sensation, kind of floods over your entire body. The actual high can last a few hours.
As she's getting bigger, she moves around a lot. I tell her that I love her, that I'm sorry that I'm not a better mom. My life is definitely chaos.
Beth and Barry say if his pregnant, heroin addict daughter, Teresa, moves in, it could ruin their marriage and sobriety. Teresa's mother, Karen, says if no one's willing to step up, then she will take the baby. But she admits she is not emotionally stable at all times. But Teresa says her mom is, quote, insane. And even though Teresa is depressed and doing heroin daily, she says the baby would be better off with her. And there's no way she's given the baby to her mother.
For the most part, I had a pretty happy childhood. I got to do some pretty cool things, ride horses. Started riding when I was about 7 years old. I always had a roof over my head. I was never starved or beaten as a child. When I was in 8th grade, I saw a special on TV about ecstasy. It seemed really appealing. I couldn't wait to get to high school to try it. When I was 18, I started taking Oxycontin. I started snorting them. When I was 22, I came home and my boyfriend was passed out. There were needles all over the desk. I had no idea. I was kind of upset about it. I told him, it's my turn, shoot me up, and so he did. At the time, we were shooting up Oxycontin, not heroin. I'm not quite sure when I started using heroin. Once I did start, it became an everyday thing. I try not to use that much because of my situation I'm in right now. I don't want to, damage my child any more than I already have. My life is definitely chaos. I don't know how I'm going to take care of her when I could barely take care of myself. I don't have a car seat, I don't have a crib, I don't have a place to live. I'm currently not even on prenatal vitamins. I haven't even had any OB care yet. As she's getting bigger, she moves around a lot. I tell her that I love her, that I'm sorry that I'm not a better mom, and that I hope she's doing all right.
Well, Teresa says she feels guilty using heroin and other drugs throughout her pregnancy, but at this point, she says she can't stop.
I'm about to have some coffee and try and wake up.
Can you explain what coffee means?
Means methamphetamines. It can make your heart kind of race or give you a little bit of energy.
So how long after you hit the meth do you do heroin?
Let me take a break now. It's just I'm dope sick, so when you're dope sick, your eyes water and everything hurts. I used to shoot up in my arms and then eventually had to go to my hands, but all my veins have since collapsed. I have to shoot up another way. Basically repeat the process a little bit. It takes about 5 minutes, but with good dope, it can hit like 3 minutes. But yeah, I usually feel like nauseous or get heartburn or something after I eat, because it helps me be able to eat. Take some heroin, add some water. It's hard to be patient, especially when you're sick. You kind of get like a warm sensation, kind of floods over your entire body, but the actual high can last a few hours. It's not something that you can just go a day without doing. Mm-hmm. Your body gets physically dependent and feel like you're gonna die and want to die if you don't have it. You don't get the same rush as when you IV it, but you can't really miss with the way that I do it, and you don't have to stab yourself 1,000 times, which really does suck. My ultrasound results, so I finally just opened that letter. She looks normal and all that good stuff, so that's a relief. I haven't gotten to go over it with my doctor yet, though, unfortunately, because I keep missing my appointments, but at least Right there on paper it says she's all right.
Well, joining me virtually is Teresa. Teresa, tell me how you're feeling right now, this minute.
It's just hard watching all that and, seeing it, like, right in front of me.
When was the last time you used?
Probably about an hour ago.
What's your concern for your baby?
I'm concerned that I've done irreversible damage to her.
You say you keep missing appointments. Why do you keep missing appointments?
Oh, it's hard getting rides sometimes, or I'm always late everywhere.
And you're not taking prenatal vitamins regularly either, are you?
No.
Why not?
I haven't been prescribed them yet. I haven't made it to my initial OB appointment.
Are you saying you've never been to the doctor?
No, I've been to certain doctors, but not the OB doctor specifically.
You're 34 weeks pregnant, and you haven't been to an OB yet?
I've had ultrasounds done.
Well, what kind of doctors did the ultrasound?
I'm not sure what kind of doctors they are. Ultrasound doctors? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything about what I'm supposed to be doing. And
so you understand you have a moral duty to this child.
yes.
And intellectually, you understand that there are steps to be taken to ensure the child's health.
Mm-hmm.
So are you morally corrupt and intellectually bankrupt, or are you just not wanting to do it?
Like I said, it's hard to get places.
And so out of these three adults here in your life, Karen and Beth and Barry, you didn't let anybody know you were pregnant and have them help you and assist you in getting the proper care for this baby.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We have to take a break. Teresa has a lot of reasons why she gives herself for using drugs. We'll listen to that excuse list when we come back. Well, I'm joined by Beth, Barry, Teresa, and Karen. This whole family says they have suffered from substance abuse. Barry admits he was a heavy drinker in the past. Karen, who was wife number one, was drunk during a marriage with Barry. Alcohol and marijuana all of her life, currently smokes marijuana. Wife number two, Alan, 26-year-old, died of a heroin overdose. Beth, wife number four, struggles on and off with addiction. Drank 2 days when she found out Teresa was pregnant. So you kind of grew up around all of this, Teresa. You've been to treatment several times, and you haven't really grabbed hold of treatment, correct?
The last one that I was at, I completed. That was the first one that I've ever completed, but...
Yeah, how long were you sober after that?
About 3 months or so.
Uh-huh. And why'd you start using again?
I don't really have a good answer.
What do you plan to do with this child when it's born?
Well, I want to get clean so I can take care of her.
You know that this baby is going to be born addicted, right?
Yeah.
Let's just take a look at a very disturbing video of a newborn going through withdrawals.
I was in labor, in the bathroom shooting heroin. about to give birth to my child.
The fact that the baby is born addicted to drugs should be a big red flashing light that says, you know, danger. Let's all, you know, take a look at this child and its mother and its family and see if it's safe.
You're so clouded when you're using, and when you're an addict, you think everything you're doing is okay, you're not doing anything wrong.
You know, the truth is, this is a reality that you just can't pretend isn't there. This is where we're headed here. And Teresa, this isn't about you anymore. It's about your innocent, unborn child. And doing what you have to do to protect this baby. And coming up, we're going to meet someone who says Teresa's baby will be taken away from her if she doesn't do a 180 with her life, and I mean fast. We'll talk about that next.
Bottom line is everybody in this family is sick. You're all allowing this child to be murdered. Who's the voice of this child except Dr. Phil?
We're here today with Teresa, who is 34 weeks pregnant and abusing heroin. I want to add to this conversation a very dear friend and respected colleague of mine, Dr. Charles Sophie. Now, Dr. Sophie is board-certified psychiatrist and former medical director of the County of Los Angeles Department of Child and Family Services. Dr. Sophie, thank you for being here, and thanks for talking about this.
Thank you.
This is a situation where, you know, Teresa is currently using, within the last hour. What's going to happen when this baby is born, and what should happen when this baby is born?
The bottom line is everybody in this family is sick. You're all allowing this child to be murdered.
Oh, I agree.
Who's the voice of this child except Dr. Phil?
Is there any chance, if there's no one in the family that is capable, strong enough, unselfish enough to protect this baby, is there any chance in hell that Department of Child and Family Services is not going to be in that delivery room and take this child?
They're there now probably waiting. Absolutely. No one can have this baby until you get healthy. This baby's already an addict, which means then that either he's going to go through an abstinence syndrome where he's not going to have meds or heroin when he's born, or he's going to have to be weaned off, which doesn't even dictate what's going to come in the next 5 to 10 years of cognitive or developmental delays.
I want to add someone else to the conversation. This is Dr. Thais Alibadi, one of the country's leading OBGYNs. She says quitting cold turkey is absolutely not the answer for Teresa. She joins us virtually. Dr. Alibadi, thank you for joining us again. It's good to talk to you again.
Thank you for having me. It makes me very emotional to listen to Teresa's story, but quitting cold turkey and doing it on her own is just not an option right now. The baby can have respiratory distress, you know, they can compromise blood flow to the placenta, and the baby can possibly be delivered early, and obviously fetal demise is the most concerning risk.
Well, Dr. Alibadi, you did your residency at County USC, where you cared for heroin addict pregnant women regularly, and you saw how bad this can go and how off the rails it can go. And you heard her talking earlier. She hasn't been to an OB yet. She's not taking prenatal vitamins. She said she's had an ultrasound, has a piece of paper where it says baby looks okay, but there's been no examination. There's been no lab work. There's been nothing done here. What's the risk that this baby is facing right now?
So, unfortunately, when you enter prenatal care at 34 weeks, the dates could be wrong. So just because the ultrasound, for example, measures this baby at 34 weeks, it could be that this baby is 37 weeks measuring 34 weeks. She does not remember the first day of her last period. She hasn't gotten any earlier ultrasounds. So to date and give an accurate due date is very complicated. One thing I want Teresa to know is just because someone tells you your ultrasound is okay doesn't mean anything. We need to do an anatomy ultrasound. Birth defects are common, and these birth defects are usually, you can see them in the heart, you can see them in the spine, or in the eyes. So a specialist needs to do an ultrasound.
Right. And Dr. Sophie, as you said, and Dr. Alibadi's talking about, as time goes on, there are developmental issues that can haunt this child for many, many years.
Right.
All right, coming up, I want Teresa to meet someone who says she can relate to her probably as well as anybody, and Dr. Alibadi's going to stay with us as well. We'll be right back.
Well, I'm a recovering addict. I started using at the age of 13 and got clean at 28. My last child was born addicted to heroin, methadone, and meth. I hope that maybe I can be an inspiring story to any woman who is trying to get clean, especially Teresa, so she knows she's not alone.
We've been talking to Teresa, who is 34 weeks pregnant and addicted to heroin. Her family obviously wants her sober. Now, I want to add Rachel to the conversation, and she says getting sober, getting this behind you is absolutely possible.
My name is Rachel. I'm a recovering addict. I started using at the age of 13 and got clean at 28.
Rachel, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you on?
Like Teresa, I too was a pregnant heroin addict. I feel like when I share my story, I can be that little gleam of hope to let them know that it is possible to recover, to get clean, to stay clean, and to get your children back. I have 3 children, all 3 of which have been taken from me by CPS. Thank God.
You've been passed out for like an hour. I have your kids at my house.
I've also fought and worked my butt off to get them back so I can be the best mother I can possibly be today. My last child was born addicted to heroin, methadone, and meth, and I had her on my own on a couch in a trailer where I used to store my dope. After that, I realized I really needed to change my life. Today I work in treatment and I give freely to the women who want to take what I have. I hope that maybe I can be an inspiring story to any woman who is trying to get clean, especially Teresa, so she knows she's not alone.
Rachel, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It was not easy to turn that corner, and you had to, it wasn't a matter of keeping your children, it was a matter of getting them back, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Because they were taken from you.
They were.
And should have been.
Absolutely. My mother actually was the one that initially started calling CPS when I was using with my boys around, and I thank God every day she did.
And how long did it take you to get where you trusted yourself, where you were clean and sober and said, I got this. I know I've got to keep fighting it, but I know now I can look my children in the eye and say I can be here as your mother.
Never say I got this. I'm one bad decision away. But I know that today I'm a better person than I was yesterday. And I'm the best mom that I can possibly be to them. I listen to their needs. I try my hardest to, you know, just really do my best for them.
And you're willing to connect with Teresa and talk to her beginning right now. What do you want to say to Teresa?
I know right now you're probably feeling so hopeless, guilty, ashamed. You know, I tear up because I feel that. I've been there. I get it. Sorry. You know, but you've got to want this for yourself. A baby's not gonna fix it. You gotta get clean. You gotta do what's suggested of you by a lot of people that you probably don't want to listen to. Because if you're anything like me, you're probably stubborn. But you gotta get your life straight and you gotta get yourself straight. You know, I didn't get my kids back right away, and I thank God that I did not get them back right away, because I probably would have a needle in my arm right now if I did. I got them back slowly, and I learned to cope with my feelings. I learned to address the issues that were at hand, and I worked my butt off doing it, and I'm living proof that you can do that.
Teresa says she wants to change, but is she willing to do the work? And I'm going to talk about what that work looks like when we come back. Teresa, what do you want? You tell me, what do you want?
I want to get clean, and I want to be able to take care of my baby.
Dr. Alabadi has said very plainly, just some piece of paper that says, yeah, this ultrasound looks okay, your baby's okay, is woefully insufficient. You don't know where you are. You don't know what your situation is, which means your baby is just in a free fall. And she has agreed to see you and examine this baby and see where things are. And I will help you do that. I will make arrangements to get you down here to Dr. Alabadi if you are willing to do that and do the work and do what she tells you to do, and let Rachel help you and walk you and guide you through this process. And then we'll look at the next step then. I don't know whether DCFS will even consider letting you or anybody in your family retain care of this child, or what happens, but I know this: you're killing this baby right now, and you need to get into the proper care, and Dr. Alabadi is a world-class expert that has opened her door to you.
I really appreciate that.
When we make those arrangements, you do not want to be late. You want to be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there.
Correct.
Rachel, you're willing to help her along the way, and Dr. Alabadi, I've described this accurately. You're willing to see her?
Absolutely. I will do everything in my power to put her on the right path. It's doable, and we do it all the time. And 34 weeks, better late than never.
But the clock is ticking, so we need to get moving on this right away. All right. Look, we're out of time. I want to thank all of my guests today, and a special thanks to Dr. Charles Sophie and to Dr. Alabadi. Rachel, thank you so much for everything. For more information about today's show, you can log on to drphil.com. You can follow me on all of my social media platforms. I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversation about this. And don't forget to subscribe to Robin's podcast, I've Got a Secret. We'll see you next time. Everybody stay safe.
Today I'm waiting to evaluate Teresa. Hi, how are you? I'm glad you're here. So I was just reviewing your chart before I walked in. I have a doctor here today. His name is Dr. Steve Rad. He will do a detailed anatomy ultrasound. He's going to go through every organ. This is Dr. Steve Rad.
So it's nice to meet everyone. So we're going to take a look at the baby. This is the baby's head. You can see the eyes. You can see the brain divided in half. I want to listen to the heartbeat now. So far things are looking good, okay?
Okay. Before I leave, she has a foot abscess. So I'm going to do an OB panel. I'm doing NIPT on her. I want to make sure that there's not a blood clot in your leg causing that abscess.
I'm Dr. Cohen. I do addiction psychiatry, and I happen to also have a specialty in treating women in pregnancy. We're going to try to find a treatment center that can treat both substance use and pregnancy. I think we should definitely detox you from meth as well. The sooner we get you off of it, the better. We just want to get you detoxed as soon as possible so the baby's no longer exposed.
Unfortunately, her foot doesn't look good. So before she gets septic, we're going to admit her to the hospital. As we speak, I think she's using something in the bathroom, which is fine. That's why you're here. We're doing this because Dr. Phil asked us to do it, and I care for her. It breaks my heart. I know what these patients go through.
How are you feeling?
Nervous and terrified but excited at the same time. I'm really grateful that I have all these amazing people helping me. I couldn't be more thankful that my baby is healthy.
I can't tell you how excited I am. Looks like we've got a really good plan for Teresa. I just can't thank Dr. Phil enough and all the doctors involved today.
I am so grateful for this last chance for her and her baby. The doctors are amazing. I want to express my appreciation to you, Dr. Phil, for helping my daughters.